What's up, guys? It's Jeramie with Jeramie Lou Photography. Thank you so much for tuning in. Recently, I've been doing a lot of YouTube videos, a lot of talking about photography and studios and lighting and gear, and I've been getting a lot of questions on the studio that I created with my business partner Ron about 4 years ago called Hatch. A lot of people don't know what Hatch is, so I'm going to take this moment to tell you guys about Hatch. Alright guys, so Hatch is very, very simple. When I was a newer photographer, I started a studio with my friend Colin, who is now doing other things, amazing photography, boudoir, sexy girl stuff. He's a great photographer, but we had a studio together, and what was happening is that we were not using the studio fully, not 7 days a week, and we were paying a bunch of money for the studio. So we got the idea of allowing photographers to rent space from us in the studio, and in turn, it filled up a few days, gave us some extra money, we didn't have to pay it in full, and it was a great mini concept. And this is known as a co-op concept that a lot of people know. Well, as I started to progress in my career, having the studio, I started getting a lot of questions from photographers. A lot of photographers wanting to know how to run a studio, what if they can't afford a studio, and I got to the point where I was like, hey, I want a bigger studio. So then the concept of Hatch, before Hatch was upon us. The first few names we had were the Creative Loft, something Loft, everything Loft, because the first location I really liked was in a loft. But then we were like, well, what if we're not in a loft in the future? Luckily, we didn't do that. So I decided on a one-worded name called Hatch. Hatch is very, very cool of a name, very simple of a name. It means development, it means starting a new business, it means starting a new idea. Really, it can be anything that anybody wants it to be. I just had to stay away from the names like Aperture or Shutter Station or something with camera because I didn't want it to focus just on camera. I wanted to focus on the art. So now that we have the build out of Hatch, the biggest thing at the beginning of Hatch was that I needed to create a place that wasn't a photography studio, which sounds kind of weird because when people think of Hatch, they think of it as a photography studio or a membership or a group of people or even like a studio, like a workplace where there's Hatch photographers. And that's not what, stupid thing, that's not what Hatch was to me. Hatch wasn't a place that photographers got together and then ran a business together. It was like a gym for photographers. So basically, if you were an established photographer, you can use a studio as is, you can be with the community and then go forth, or you could do nothing at all and just use a studio. If you're brand new into the business, you could have just come in and just learn from other people, or just be around professional photographers, ask questions, build, develop, grow. That's what Hatch was always to me. Well, in the beginning stages of it, it was tough. I have to admit, it was tough, it was scary, it was a lot of money. And the sad things that were happening, which is the reason for this video, is because I want everybody to know how far we've come. We got a few lawyer threats, a few late night phone calls, a few personal attacks on me. I was thrown on a couple poorly established websites about Hatch. Nothing negative about anybody per se, but more of like we're just killing the industry. A lot of old school photographers were coming at me very, very hard because I was instructing or teaching or mentoring these photographers on how to build their business. They were the same photographers that always thought that, hey, you're taking away business from me. I'm not as successful because this new photographer who didn't go to school is in the world now, and now they're taking away money from me. Whereas I came into the business going, we have a bunch of these newer photographers who are learning, and there's no way for them to excel, so they're charging nothing. How can I get these nothing charging photographers to charge a whole bunch more so that my rate doesn't seem crazy? And that's kind of why I developed Hatch. When I did it, I was naive. I was like, everybody's gonna love this, everybody's gonna love me, everybody's gonna love Hatch. And it wasn't like that when we started. It was actually very, very scary. We had a great group of core people that came in, core photographers, artists, videographers that came in, and we got a lot of negative feedback from people very, let's say, anonymously. And it scared me. It scared me to death because I put so much money into this lease of this space, and I really just care about people. I just wanted to make sure that people were being taken care of and everything positive. And we developed a couple hashtags: community over competition, Hatch is family, Hatch family, 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 and that's really what I wanted. So after going through maybe the first year of all this negativity and things being pushed back and photographers trying to pull people away from Hatch, the next trouble that we went through in the second year of Hatch was that people were assuming that every photographer there was part of a team. They were being called Hatch photographers, and we actually had models that were in there as well using the space for their personal gain. They were being called Hatch models. And that's not what Hatch was about. Hatch was a studio for people to work out of. We had no such thing as a Hatch photographer. For instance, you couldn't call Hatch and try to book a photographer. We can refer you out to photographers within Hatch and outside of Hatch, but that's not what we were. So what I was noticing in the community and what I needed to squash right away, because I didn't want anybody to feel like, hey, since I use Hatch for my studio, there's some sort of negative connotation there. Yes, we had some photographers in there that shot some weddings and maybe the clients weren't happy. We had some shot weddings that were greatly happy. Everybody thought that I was a Hatch photographer, and that was fine because I owned it and I used Hatch, and Hatch obviously is going to be my baby. I wouldn't go to any other studio because that's my studio. So what was happening is that we were hearing a lot of stuff in the background, and it's actually still happening today, a lot less, but a couple local photographers, say in the Carson area, were more of just kind of saying, I hate Hatch photographers. You should hate Hatch photographers too because of XYZ. Sadly, I say XYZ because I have no idea. I just keep hearing that this photographer, a couple of these people just hate Hatch photographers. And it boggles my mind because we have probably had over 200 people use Hatch in the last 4 years. None of them are associates of Hatch. They don't have a place in the business. They literally rent a space. That would be like me working out at Gold's Gym and you working out at Gold's Gym and you hate me because I'm a Gold's Gym member, or you hate Gold's Gym because I did something to you personally. That's how I think of it, and it's really, really weird to me. That's the biggest reason for this video today, is because I'm still hearing that and it's still frustrating and I'm not getting it. We are now on our 3rd studio in our 4th year, which is amazing. We have a core group of 20 photographers who are amazing at what they do, passionate, taking care of the studio, and we're super excited. We're actually upgrading as well. We're adding another space. So keep checking out on us. Keep asking about Hatch. But basically that's what Hatch is. It's a bigger studio for all of us. We all share the cost. We all share the equipment, the gear, and we all get to build our brand together. So my goal is in the next 2 years, 3 years, as everybody starts to think about Hatch and the photographers, there's always a positive association with that, which there always is. A lot of photographers I talk to goes, I love Hatch, I love what you're doing. Once I explain to somebody, oh my God, that's amazing. And we're starting to see kitchens build up in this concept. Of course, we're seeing gyms build up in this concept, hair salons, makeup artists, and they're all kind of doing this, and that's what we want for us. So if you guys are watching this and you're familiar with Hatch, thank you so much. If you're watching this and you're not familiar with Hatch, please comment below. We don't have any spaces available for photographers, but I'm happy to help and guide and mentor in any way possible. Comment below. Let me know what you guys think. And again, thank you so much for watching. If you guys are new to the channel, consider subscribing. Hit thumbs up and then click that bell for notifications. I am out. Talk to you guys later.